going to have problems. It's however we come across and solve those problems that we're going to define how long we're going to be doing business together. I have lost money to save relationship multiple times because I value money, but I value relationship more than money.
Welcome to the Agents Who Crush It in Real Estate, the podcast where we deep dive into the strategies, stories, and successes of the real estate world's top performers. I'm your host, Lindsay Favaza, and today I'm thrilled to have Jason Santana, founder, partner, and general contractor of North America Development, join me. Jason, alongside his brother, Hudson Santana, have distinguished themselves through a dedication to superior construction and unwavering client satisfaction as experts in real estate development. Their philosophy extends beyond mere structures. It's about forging lasting relationships, breathing life back into properties and communities, and ensuring the prosperity of their clients and future buyers. Jason's journey exemplifies the essence of collaboration, resilience, and the relentless quest for perfection. Whether you're an industry veteran thinking of embarking on your development journey, or you want to learn more about working with developers, Jason's insights offer invaluable lessons. So let's give a warm welcome to Jason Santana. Welcome to the podcast, Jason.
Thank you so much, Lizzie. It's a pleasure to be here.
Scheduling things, but I'm so glad we're finally here, and it was all my fault. 99% of it was my fault, so I apologize for that, but I'm so excited to have you here. I know you and I have met a few times in person. So you wear many hats in your life, so I can't wait to dive deep into what it is that you do all day. We were joking about your wife listening to the intro and thinking, wow, that's pretty impressive, right? But you do so much more than just the development. So I'm really excited to hear your story, and I'm really excited for our listeners to hear your story today.
No, it's a pleasure to be here, and I hope I can bring some value and some insights for your listeners. So it's
You definitely will. I know a lot of them will be very interested in hearing a lot about, the development side of things and how they can better work with developers. So that's something I think that would be really valuable. But let's start from the beginning. How did you get into real estate? What is your backstory? How did you get all started in this with your brother and you?
Well, I'll try to summarize 40 years in
You
a
don't have to.
couple
We have
minutes.
plenty of time.
So I'm from Brazil. I'm from the Amazon, literally. From the Amazon jungle. I stayed in Brazil as a part of the jungle. When I finished high school, there wasn't a lot of opportunities for us back then. There was not really much that we could pursue. So I had an uncle who lived in Boston, and my uncle told my mom, I was 17 years old, why doesn't Jason come here to America, the land of dreams and opportunity? And my mom asked me, I had no idea what the United States was. She was like, you want to go live in the United States? I'm like, okay. So
Sounds good.
Yeah. And then
And how old were you?
I'm sorry?
How old were you at that time?
17.
Wow.
Yeah, and my uncle had left Brazil when I was 10 years prior, so when I was around 7 or 8 years old. So I hadn't really had much connection with him. Back then there was no cell phones or Facebook or Twitter or any of that. You had to send letters and had a dial-up phone and all that kind of stuff. I feel like a dinosaur right now, but that's
right.
How it was. So then he sent us the money for the tickets, and I came. Arrived in Boston, went to live with him and his other 8 roommates on a 3-bedroom apartment in Austin.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of us. Everybody
what was he doing for work at the time? Was he in any kind of real estate or?
No, he was a cook and a busboy. He was a cook during the day and a busboy during the night. And that's what I started doing. I started being a dishwasher and just kind of work my way through. Long story short, got to some point that I didn't want to be in a restaurant life anymore.
Yeah,
I want to kind of have a day job because I want to not to be working nights and weekends and holidays. So I left to go work on a painting company. So from the painting company, I moved down to Florida, when Katrina hit, and back in 2006 or 2007.
Yep.
And then I started working for a developer, and I've learned a lot with him because he kind of brought me up from just being a carpenter to like being like a project manager and all that stuff. He had a lot of development going on the beach. You know, it was like a vacation. The city called Destin in Florida, up on the Panhandle. It's like a vacation spot. And then 2008 happened, and everybody went down.
Like, this is 2006, 2007. I'm waiting.
Yeah. So 2008 happened, and it was really bad for that area because there was nothing but vacation houses. So we literally went from building a lot of houses to unemployment. So I moved back to Boston to the restaurant business to get myself situated again. My brother started dating his current wife, Lisa. She was in real estate, and he was a bartender. So I was working at the same restaurant, and he became a real estate, and he started working with foreclosed properties, you know, back in 2009.
Yep.
So I'm in the kitchen one day, and he comes and he say, Jason, I work for this guy, and he represents a bank. People come in, buy these foreclosed houses, and they paint and they fix something and they sell it for a profit. Why don't we do that? And I'm like, well, I have no money to start with. I had like $7,000 saved in my bank account. Yeah. And he's like, well, I have a little bit of money. Lisa has good credit, and you know the construction. So maybe we buy a house. They move to the house while I worked 40 to 50 hours at the restaurant, and I was fixing the house.
Wow.
So that's kind of how this all started.
So you went from having the night job, wanting a day job, to having both.
Yes.
So you guys get started. You buy the house, you're working these two jobs, and he is mostly doing the real estate thing, or is he still working in the restaurant too? Or
So
you guys
we had a joke that Hudson was the best dressed bartender because he would come on a suit from the real estate office, right? So
hey, you probably got more tips that way.
Yeah. So we're both working at the restaurant. He was doing the real estate, and I was doing the development side. We were not calling development back then. It was just fixing this one tiny little house that we had. Yeah. So it was just a different perspective. But yeah, both of us were working on that. So that's, he started growing that side of the company, and then I started working on the other side of the company.
So what was the next deal? What happened after that? You guys sold that to make the profit, and then you moved into the next project, or how did that work?
Yeah, so we did this first house in Everett, and then we sold it, and then immediately we found another house in Revere. And then right after that, we found another house in Everett, and we kind of kept moving that way until Hudson used to go to a BNI. I'm sure most of the people.
I used to be a BNI president.
There you go. So at the BNI, he was doing a presentation about this development company that we had, and this is 12 years ago, right? So the industry was picking up. Yep. From it's funny because the first open house, because I also have a real estate license, but I have to say the story. The first time I went to open house, I was shadowing this realtor, and he said to me, "You're getting into real estate. This is the last open house I'm doing because I'm leaving real estate because real estate is really bad right now." And this was in 2009, 2010. And I'm like, wow, that's encouraging.
That was bad timing.
I'll tell you that. No, it was great timing because,
great. Yeah.
And I feel like it's happening right now again when a lot of people are leaving the industry, and I'm like, people are like, Jason, what is the luckiest thing? I'm like, my luckiest thing is I started real estate in 2009, 2008, and everybody like, well, those were horrible times. Not for me.
Not for me. I started and it was great.
Yeah, it was great when you have no other options. You don't know what good and bad is. So, so we kind of didn't have a structure. It was more like what it makes sense, how does it work, how does it not work. But we started learning. We learned a lot with other people. We learned a lot with our experience. We start doing more houses. I was still full-time a chef at a restaurant in Boston, and my obligation was to work 60 hours a week there. So I was doing 60 hours a week there, plus fixing the houses most of the time myself. I would pick guys at Home Depot, to come help me for a day. I have a good friend who would start work with me at 5 p.m. until midnight. He worked with me every day while I was, during the day I was at the restaurant.
It's
So
crazy.
we're just, and I, had a couple kids. I have my second son by then.
How do you have the hours? I don't have the hours in the day, and I don't do half of those things.
Yeah, well, I feel it's funny because I'm listening to a book right now, and this chapter of the book is just about time management. And we know, we have the hours. It's just what we prioritize.
Yep.
Like for example, I wake up every day 4:30 in the morning and I go to the gym.
Yep.
But that's a priority for me. And people are like, oh, how can you do it? But I got so used to it that now, like when I go on vacation, I miss it. I just kind of build up into the. Yes, there's days that it sucks. There's days that it's cold and rainy and all that stuff. But I feel like if we're hitting 80%, another thing that is a priority for me is take my kids to school. So I go back to the gym, I take a shower, I have breakfast, and I take the kids to school because I feel like it's a moment that I have with them. I have three kids, and also like a priority for me is my nap. I take a nap because I'm
nice.
up 4:30 in the morning, and I used to be ashamed of that. I'll tell you, I used to be very ashamed of tell people that I take a nap, but now I'm like, I own it. I'm like, it's part of me. I need it.
What time is your nap time?
1 to 2 after lunch. So my office is nearby my house. It's like a mile and a half from my house. I usually can go home. I'm very privileged that I can go home. And I mean, does it happen every day? No, but it happens
just like
most
anything.
of the time.
Just like working out. Sometimes you gotta skip it. You're sick or whatever the case is. Like it's just gonna be the way it is.
I feel it's very cliche, but I like you can live by desire. I mean, yes, back when I had 3 jobs and sharing an apartment with 8 other people and not knowing much about anything, I was struggling and working and working, and I feel like work can clear your mind. My mom is the hardest worker person that I know. She's like sacrificed her whole life for Hudson and myself. So, and she is taught us a very strong work environment. And even like for me, having Hudson as a partner and a brother, he's the hardest worker guy that I know. Like he's a machine, and people are like, oh, Jason, I'm like, oh, it's all Hudson. I'm the looks of the company. He does all the hard work.
So how did things then pan out as far as now it's 2008, 2009? You guys have now caught some steam. Did you have to spend some time to kind of become more organized, to become more like, how did that process go for you guys?
Well, it got to a point that I feel like we're like got into this system that would sell a house and do another one and sell a house and do another one. And we're both still at the restaurant, but Hudson was just 1 or 2 shifts. I was still like 60 hours a week, and he was like, "Look, you need to leave the restaurant, or we're not gonna make this thing fly, and you need to get your general contractor license." And it was very scary for me because already being hurt financially so many times, and I needed that security. I had 2 small kids at home, and like my wife is a hero. She stuck with me this whole time when there was some months that I didn't have money to pay the rent. And I'm not trying to make that romanticize poverty. I'm not. It was very hurtful, and it's still very painful. And it's not a good situation to be. And then I remember the day he was like, "What's the worst can happen? Like you can come back to the restaurant if it happen again." Easier said than done. Once you get into a comfort zone, it's really tough to move on. But then left the restaurant, got my general contractor license, and then
what year was that?
That was in 2010, 2011, more or less, 2011, yes. And then it was just hustling. I hired two guys to help me out because back then I was still doing like all the work myself. Like I would only hire the plumber and the electricians because those were licensed trades and I couldn't do that. But everything else was like literally like going to Home Depot 15 times a day, doing that, all that kind of stuff and dealing with that. And it's funny enough too, I don't know if you remember, but back in that area, there wasn't a lot of people staging their houses. So we started staging. We would take furniture from our houses to stage the houses. So it was also something that we started doing that I feel like not a lot of people were doing. Like my wife would get back home and she's like, "Where's the
Could be
couch?"
a couch missing.
Yeah, exactly. That was our staging too. It was like a couch and a
Yeah.
coffee table, and
Yeah.
that's it. That was like we're
That is
staging.
so funny. You're like, don't worry, honey. You can sit on the couch again soon.
Yeah, Monday. We'll have furniture from Monday to Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday they'll be at the house.
I love it. The hustle. I love it.
Yeah, so then it got to a point that we really got traction. We found more investors, and we had to sit down and be like, okay, what do we want to do? And we, through coaching and education and learning with other people, decided that we wanted to create a business, not a job. And to create a business, we would have to create a bunch of structures. So Hudson, and myself start getting educated. Okay, how can you really make this a business? So we start hiring office support people at the office. Because that's the structure that we want to go. Instead of having 100 carpenters, we decided that having a good office structure, we could subcontract most of the work.
Yep.
So and that's how we've been doing and growing. Okay, so instead of like we have 12 people in our office, our whole team right now it's 12 people. So It's project managers, architects, engineers, office staff to help, and then we sub it out most of our work. So our project managers pretty much manage the jobs, and we have subcontractors that provide work for us.
Nice. So day to day now, how have things changed? What are you guys doing differently? How have you guys navigated changes? Because I know, especially on the development side, the market starts to shift. Then there's this pullback. Or the last few years, the prices of properties have been insane. So it's like, how do you do some of that stuff then? What were some of the shifts that you guys made during the last few years?
So one thing I feel like being adaptable, it's a huge advantage that we have.
Yeah.
Because we're a small company, I mean, I consider that we do a lot of business. We do about 20 to 25 properties a year, which is
That's
a
a
good
lot.
size for our area.
Yeah.
However, we still like only a team of 12 people, 10 to 12 people, depending. And we're very adaptable. For example, in these 12 years, the markets have fluctuated. So Hudson, so he deals with the real estate part of it, and we always watching what's the next, what's it look like for the next year or so we can adapt and change. Yeah. For example, when the pandemic hit, we start noticing, when people are like working from home. So we change the way that we build our houses. We start, think, okay, they really need really good internet. So we wire for good internet. We always have an office. So we'd make the living room or the kitchen smaller to have office space. So the zoning, we do a lot of work in Somerville, Cambridge, Medford, Arlington area. So we are very thoughtful about the zoning change. I can't control the politics. I can't control what's going on exteriorly. I can't control what's going on within our organization. And that's how I can't go there and change the zoning of the city. So we're very adaptable. There's a lot of people that will say, oh, I don't do any development in Somerville because it's really challenging. While for us, it's like, okay, how can we learn those challenges and how can we be better, and just adapt to it?
And if there's those challenges, then like you said, more people are going to fall out of that market. So now there's more opportunity in that market.
Yeah.
So it's like,
and that's
it's a balance.
Exactly what been happening. Like to a point, we shift a lot of business to Arlington. So we did a lot of development in Arlington. So now we shift a lot of business back to Somerville because a lot of people, the zoning change and a lot in the interest rates. Also, another thing, when the interest rates start going up last year, it caught everybody, including ourselves, because there's property that we bought. The rates were 8% because we do development. It was 5%, and then suddenly now it's 8%.
Mm-hmm.
And we had payments that went from $4,000 to $15,000. You know what I'm saying? So it was very challenging for us, and we have constantly to be navigating, working within our budgets. Okay, what is the market dictating right now? What are people looking to buy? So now the trend that we feel on our area is happening is, instead of larger units, smaller units are more needed where we're located right now. So we shift. We literally had we've been having design meetings almost every week, shifting. Okay, this, instead of making this, a big one unit, let's make a smaller 2 units. What is it that people are looking for? Before, parking was a big thing. We had to give a bunch of parking space. Now it looks like parking is not as required or necessary anymore. So for us, there's a constant, we got to be constant adapting, because we're selling. We're in the market for sell. We build to sell. Yes, we have rental properties. Yes, we have another, but that's a whole nother side of our business. But so we build to sell. So we always look, okay, what are people buying?
Yep.
We're making our properties not so unique that is gonna make so unique that very few buyers, but also what is it, the one thing that person is gonna leave the open house, like it's gonna be a fireplace, it's gonna be this master bathroom, it's gonna be this there's always one detail.
And I would assume that both the properties that you're developing and then selling, and on top of that, Hudson doing a lot of other sales just within the market, right, is kind of feeding that knowledge, right? It's a kind of a culmination of you guys just meet and talk about, like, all the buyers loved this at this other property that we just sold, so we got to do that on the next one. Is that kind of how that works for you guys?
I consider that we have two clients. The investors, they invest money with us because they're looking for the returns, and the real estate agents, because we probably do a lot of transactions with the realtors. The buyer they'll buy probably one house from us, but the realtors, so the feedback from the realtors is really important.
Yeah.
And yes, with Hudson has his team, and we always listen to his team, and they go to the property like, okay, what is it that you see is that I need? Like, even in things like, what brand of appliance people are looking for.
Yep.
What is it really important that the clients are looking for? Or they come into the house and they like the bigger closet, they like smaller closet. So it's really important to get that feedback. It's really important to get that so we can build something that most of the market is looking for. And also we have to be very conscientious of the price, and also the expenses that we do. Yeah. So because that's the fine line. Okay, how can I build the most for the least amount of money?
Most profit, but make it sellable.
Yeah, because we need to make. I mean, that's how we make money. Our profit is building something that we can sell for a profit. Yep. So navigating that, and during COVID, the inflation, the price of everything. We used to pay crazy, $2.50 for a 2x4, and now a 2x4 is $7. And then it's like, okay, you just throw all the budgets away. So it was just we're just been navigating. Now things are getting more stabilized, so it's like we feel like the weather this storm. I feel like 2023 was this huge storm that we've been weathering, and we've been changing and been adapting to it. And that adaptation is painful. It's like change sucks. Like nobody wakes up in the morning and be like, oh, I want to change today. You have to be going through some really tough times to want to change, right? So that's exactly how we interact in a business as well. Like it's the same thing. Like we have to sit down and evaluate.
So outside of your team and your realtors, think to other realtors in the business that maybe don't have the experience of being a developer themselves or having that background. How would a realtor, what would be the best advice that you could give to someone who wants to get in with a developer who maybe, either has a realtor already that's not related to them, obviously, or has someone that, wants to get in with developers that are in their market? What kind of advice would you give them to do that?
Number one thing is, what type of value are you bringing? Sending me an MLS sheet, it's not value.
No.
All right. I have access to MLS. You know what I'm saying? So, I think, and I'm, some people are gonna shake their heads right now, but we've been in a too good of a market for too long, and people got too comfortable, including myself.
Yep.
All right. Yep. So you just put a sign and get 15 offers. That's how it used to be. So unfortunately, now we need to provide value. I need to provide value. Look, I've been married for 20 years. If I don't provide value every day for my wife, somebody else will. And it's the same thing with construction, and same thing with development. Like I get so many text messages from realtors, and they'll send me a text message. Oh, is this house good for you? And it's like something that's on MLS, on Redfin, or whatever, on Zillow. And I'm like, It can be, but what that, like, you want me
Tell
to
me
give
why
you
you think that. Yeah.
exactly, like, you want me to pay your commission because you send me an address? Like, come on, like, and that's the thing that frustrates me the most. Like, I listen a lot, like, a lot of people ask me that question, how can I bring value? I'm like, look, I need to make money. You bring me an opportunity that I can make money with facts, not with your opinion. I don't care about your opinion. Like, your opinion to me,
Show
it
me the data.
doesn't, because if I lose money, you're not gonna give me my money back.
No.
So I need some facts. You saw a good opportunity, man. Oh, I saw 123 Main Street. It's for sale, and you can add this square footage, or you can finish this basement, or you can do 3 units, or you can, do this, and then the resale value based on the last 6 months within a mile is for the square footage has been this, and the construction, roughly this is the number. So I think there's an opportunity here. That's what Hudson does all day long
Yeah.
as a realtor. He does nothing but that. He will look. He's a specialist, and I'll tell you, I've been learning a lot too. That on a war, sniper gets more hits than somebody with machine gun.
Yep.
And I live in a culture, and I have this rabbit that I'm looking everywhere constantly, and that I lose my focus. So if you want to work with a developer, first of all, you gotta specialize in an area. Don't think, oh, I'm licensed in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Hawaii, Connecticut. I'm like, okay, great. How are you gonna be specialist about
One
that area that
specific
you work
area. Yeah.
So that's for me the number one thing. Like, figure out where you're gonna be specialist and learn everything about that. Joe Nigo, he's from Chicago, and he's a huge realtor in Chicago. And I went to one of his live events with the Buffini company, and he knows everything about his area. He's like, nobody will know more about my area than myself. And I think that as a realtor, or as a real estate agent, you should know a lot about your area. And also, one thing that I saw a lot is, like, people don't know what a water heater is, or basic stuff. I'm like, how are you gonna sell a car and you don't know what engine doesn't have? So if you want to work with a developer, you should be able, to identify, okay, what needs to be replaced or not in a house, because you're the one who have access to the house, or what you think the value of the neighborhood can be, or what the zoning calls. Maybe you see a house and you can put, it's a single family right now, but you can put 5 units. And if you know the zoning, that's a huge home run right there. That's a lot of money to be made. And I'll tell you, bring a deal like that to a developer, you got the listing side, you get the risk, you get everything out of it.
And probably future business, because they'll want to work with you again.
Exactly.
And there's so much time after the deal is brought to the table and you say, yes, this is a project we want to work with. There's so much time in between there to be able to find them their next one. So it just sets you up for just so much future business.
Yes. And I'll tell you, I probably would not want to work with a developer because they're tough. They're tough. They need to make money, and they all have different business. For example, I have fellow developers. They run their business very different than I do mine, and which is great because we all do differently. So if you're gonna be catering to developers, you're gonna have to learn. Okay, how does North America Development make their money, or how does Anthony makes his money with his developer? How does Sean make his money? How does all those other guys make their money? And you're gonna have to cater to them. It's a very specialized industry. It's different than, like I said, putting a sign and putting a listing sheet on an MLS. And it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. But going back to just the major thing, I feel like developing a relationship. I'm very, very big into relationships, into transparency. Developing a relationship and be a specialist is where we're missing the most, especially because we had a lot of newer agents, and I feel like there's not enough training, or people don't seek enough training. That's why I value any type of coaching. Not any type. I value coaching. I value training. I value valuable information. I feel like we live in an area that there is plenty of information. Like, you can learn so much with YouTube and Google, and even TikTok and Facebook. There's so much good stuff that you can get, like, free education.
Yeah.
I learn a lot. Sometimes I come across a problem. Like I'm a marathoner. I run marathons, and sometimes I'm struggling. And I Google. I'm like, okay, how do I do this?
How do I get through this plateau or whatever
Yeah,
the
and
case
I
is?
have a coach. I have a specific marathon coach for me. You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing that I'm like, if that's what you want, work with developers is what you want. Okay, what does that even mean?
Mhm.
Let's have coffee with a developer. Like
Mhm.
anytime anybody asks me for coffee, I always said yes. And I
Yeah.
tell them, like, look, you bring me a good opportunity. It's all yours. You're listening. You can market the hell out of it. It's all yours. You
Yep.
know, I want my sign there too. Yes, but you can do all your free advertisement there just because you brought me a deal. And it's worth it. It's it's you part of it. It's the
Yeah.
equation. So I'm really
I love
looking
that.
forward to a lot of realtors to definitely no to become better, so I can
Yeah.
become better, and we can, and there's money for everybody to be made, and it's
Well,
great
I
value for the buyers.
yeah, and I think that this market is going to bring those people who do bring value up to the top, right? That cream's going to rise. Like it's going to be, the best of the best are going to make it through the next year or that made it through last year. So I think we're going to see a much higher level of value coming from the real estate industry in general.
And listen to this: when you're a real estate agent and you represent a developer, and that developer is great, like myself, like my organization, that stand behind their product, that has an
Yep.
office, that will pick up the phone, and if there's an issue, you're gonna go there, fix and take care of it. That's great for you as a realtor, because that's gonna add value to your business as well.
Yep.
Because I'm sure every realtor or every real estate agent that's listening to this have sold that house for that one developer that never answered, that never picked up the phone call, and that the real estate agents now being blamed for that.
Yep.
And that's the same thing for us. So it's I feel like there's a partner, almost like a partnership that can be made, that can be built if you have a trust developer that stands behind, that goes for and does a great job. It's going to be great because all your listings is going to be pristine. Who
Yeah.
doesn't want to sell? Everybody want to sell my houses. I'm sure they do. I have no problem, because we stand behind. Are we
Yep.
perfect? No, but we try for perfection every day.
I love that.
And that's, to me, where the value is. I feel like people look at developers today. Oh, they just want to make money. Yes, as everybody on this planet, we are here to
Yep.
make money. However,
Yep.
we're here to provide great value.
Yep.
And there's a difference between you buying something that is great and something that's not great. And I'm sure you save the money on something that's not great, but maybe you're okay with it.
Yeah.
And that's where it is. You can,
Maybe
spend a
that's what
little
you
bit of
wanted. I love what you said, and I think it's an important point to really emphasize, is that it's not just about you going after the developers, but it's about finding the developers that you can build a relationship with, that you want to build a relationship with, because
exactly.
you could go after a developer and then they could ruin your reputation. You have to be careful. It's the same thing, I'm sure, in your world of finding a carpenter or finding a plumber or finding an electrician. They can ruin a deal for you. They can ruin a project for you. So it's just making sure that not only you go out and find that business and do right by them, but make sure that they do right by you. I love that
It,
message.
it's the relationship that I was telling. Like, once you build a relationship, and look, relationships are tough. There's good days, there's bad days. To me, it's funny because that's my one thing. I'm like, look, we're gonna have problems. Is however we come across and solve those problems
Yeah.
that we're gonna define how long we're gonna be doing business together. I have lost money to save relationship multiple times.
Yeah.
Because I value money, but I value relationship more than money.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to make this cliche or anything like that, but I have a relationship that brought me more money than I could ever expect. And I have a relationship that I only lost money with it.
Yeah.
So it's like, what is it that you want? Do you want to have the relationship with that person? Because it's tough. Look, like, I love Anthony, but I'm sure he's not an easy guy to be around all the time. Freaking 100 miles an
I
hour.
think he's always great to be around.
Me too. At the gym, you know what I'm saying? But that's the thing. It's like the same thing with myself. I'm sure, like, most of the people are like, oh, Jason's too much or too little.
Yeah.
So what is the relationship? Can you stand with that person?
Yeah.
With
Yep.
that realtor, with that developer? Does the value of that developer align with your values?
Yep. Totally.
Of that realtor, does that align with your? Are they too intense? Are they too easygoing? Are they, we have to figure out that, because we jump into these relationships, especially business wise. I love partnership. Pretty much all my business, I have partners. And it's funny because some people hate partnerships, and they're tough, but I'm finding somebody, like, on the gym. I have a partner on the gym.
Yep.
He brings different value that I bring. You know, he has a different energy, he has a different thing, and he's doing his part of it, and I'm doing my part of it.
Yeah.
No, same thing with Hudson and myself. Like, if you meet Hudson, you're gonna see he's a completely different beast that I am, and he brings a different value that I bring. However, I respect him, he respects me, and we strive to the same goals. We're in the same bus, we're in different seats, but we're going to the same location. You know, so I feel like, you know, realtors who wants to work with developers. Okay, first of all, who's a developer that would be worthy for me of building that relationship? Because you're gonna have to build trust before you get the business.
Yeah.
Right. Until you have trust, you're not gonna gain any business. Same thing with a seller or buyer. Like, until they trust you, they're not gonna do business with you.
No, absolutely not. Well, thank you so much, Jason. We are out of time, and I'm bummed because I feel like this was such a great conversation. I feel like our listeners are going to get so much out of it. Maybe at some point we can have Hudson on too to show us the full real estate side as well. I think that would come full circle for everyone. So
there you go. Yeah, it's definitely.
Really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. This was awesome. And thank you all for listening today. And if you want to learn more about I always point in the wrong direction. If you want to learn more about Jason and what they do over at North American Development, there's all their social links right there. And you can find them also in the show notes of the podcast. So Jason, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you very much. And let's crush it, right?
Yeah, crush it in real estate. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you guys on the next episode of The Agents Who Crush It in Real Estate.
Thank you for tuning in to the Agents Who Crush It in Real Estate podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, share it with your friends and colleagues, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. If you're interested in being a guest, email us at info@crushitinre.com. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to crush it in real estate.